Hello, welcome to Alien Isolation After the Bell. I've completed Alien Isolation, so I'm in a position to give the game its official grading. I'm going to touch up on some of the points that I raised in the Before the Bell video, which, if you haven't watched already, I highly recommend you go back and do that first before continuing this video. I'm going to then go through some of the negative points that have been raised by some of the game's critics in the reviews that I've looked at, and then overall give it a score and what I thought was the game as a whole. I'm going to start off with some of the bad points that I raised. So cutscenes being poor, backtracking, and lack of tutorial. It's still there, so they're flaws in the game that you're gonna have to deal with. The crashing of the game, very happy to report that ceased. I did not have any more crashes after I'd recorded the Before the Bell video. The auto checkpoint, that was sort of half there and half not there, and the game relying on you manually saving. That doesn't change, that's still there, but my opinion of how that was structured and how it added to the game actually did change, and I became quite fond of having to manually save. Yes, there's certain points where it's frustrating. So there are areas where you have to cut open a door and then you'll go through, and then there'll be maybe a conflict with a human, android or an alien, and if you die during that bit, it takes you back to the point where you have to cut the door open again, and there's no opportunity to save in between, so each time you have to keep cutting the door open. So that they could have tweaked that slightly and just added a couple of more save points in a more strategic area, so you haven't got to keep wasting time doing menial tasks. But in general, I think it works well, and once you get over the fact that the game's not going to wipe your ass and save for you, it does add to the tension of the game. Just scrambling to get to these save points in itself is an achievement, and does give you some good relief. So it turned me around, and I think that more survival horror games should implement some form of manual saving. If you can put it into the game like they did this, quite smart. There's a little key card that you'll put in on these emergency phones, then do it. Moving on, I'm going to go through some of the negative points that were raised by the critics. One of the big ones was that the game is too long. Now, admittedly, there is about 20% of the game that I felt that was poorly done and could have done with being streamlined a bit. Not removed entirely, but just streamlined and made it not as long. But that seriously is probably only a couple of hours max that you'd need to take out of that, which isn't going to affect the overall running time of this game, because as I said, it's a 15-hour plus game, I'd say. So removing a couple of hours isn't going to suddenly make the game the perfect length. People are calling for this game to be nearly cut in half, which I think is a piece of nonsense. The gameplay is the main hook in this game. The story's not being bogged down by it being too long, and once you finish the game, that's it. There's not a lot else to do. There's leaderboards for the survivor maps, and you can replay the campaign again, but they're not going to hook people back in to keep playing the game, I don't think, personally. So had it been cut in half and a lot shorter, the same people saying it's too long would have been saying, oh, it's too short, it's not worth the money. So, in my opinion, it being slightly longer is much better than it being too short. The other 2 points were that it's too hard and that the alien AI is unpredictable. Now, it being too hard, I'll get it out there, I'm not a good gamer. I had this on hard, and it was a struggle, but it's on the top difficulty. Perhaps they shouldn't put in the notes that that's the recommended playthrough difficulty. But it being too hard, I don't see how you can dock points for that. If you keep quiet, you take it slow, and you adjust to the game's rules, not being a noisy bastard, then you have a far easier time of getting through, and the alien probably won't see you as much. He is unpredictable, and this is the other point I've seen people raise. He is unpredictable, but that's what makes the game so fucking good at times. You're not just watching him, seeing what patrol route he's going to take, and then working out a plan. You can get 80% through a particular area, and then he kills you. And you boot it up the next time, and he does something completely different. So that plan you just used for the first time, you can't use in the second time. And games are evolving like this. This is how AI should be. AI should be dynamic. The Last of Us, the humans in that, they had patrol routes, but they were quite erratic. They would turn around when they didn't need to. They would go to different areas that they didn't do before, and it adds a certain edge to the game. To say something that's got unpredictable AI in a stealth survival horror game, and it makes it too hard, is a piece of nonsense. It makes the game what it is. The alien, you can't predict what he's going to do. You need to be on your toes and you need to adapt, and that is something that a lot of games miss. There's no adaptation in these games because you just work out a route to do and you stick to it. This does not let you do that. This is the good point of the game, and in my view it's one of the biggest positives to come out of Alien Isolation. The only issue that I have with the game is that as you progress you become more powerful, so you pick up new weapons, you upgrade your crafting or crafted items, and you get more ammunition. This empowers you and allows you to finally defend yourself, which is great. It's a good change in gear, but for me there's just too many materials to pick up, so they're not really scarce enough, and rather than it becoming the exception, it becomes the norm, and soon you can start becoming pretty careless at times and get away with it because you've got so much at your disposal. But this is a very good game. It's not going to appeal to everyone, however, and by nature I think that survival horrors are not for everyone. They're sometimes slow paced, and the good ones are distressing to play. To get the best out of this game, you're going to need to make sure that you're saving regularly, and I'd also suggest that you don't rush through this game, and just be disciplined in the way you play it. The only times I felt like I want to throw the controller across the room was when I've been sitting there for 4+ hours playing it, trying to sort of force my way through the game. If you take your time, you play sensibly, you're going to have a great experience with Alien Isolation. For those that are fans of survival horrors, it's a no-brainer. For those that are fans of the Alien franchise, you 1000% have to go out and get this game. Simple as that. The atmosphere, the sound, the look, the settings is so true to the original film, and I really do hope that this is the start of a series of Alien games from Creative Assembly. They've laid down some fantastic building blocks to expand on, and I'm very optimistic about the future of Alien games if they continue in this direction. Alien Isolation After the Bell, official grading, silver. Nothing more to say. Thanks for your time, and ta-da! Ta-da.